Okay, welcome everyone. The recipient of the 2013 Anderson Ranch National Artist Award is someone whose work is not easily categorized. As his new catalog for his show in London describes it, his art reiterates the universality of the human experience and ordeal, the joys and sorrows, spirit and flesh, beginning and end, for every man, woman, and child. Bill Viola is a revolutionary. For more than 40 years, beginning before there was a field of video art, he has created architectural video installations, video films, sound environments, electronic music performances, and works for concerts, opera, and sacred spaces. Wide-ranging in his scope of ideas, he is aided by a masterful control of technology. Perhaps most importantly, he is also aided by his wife and partner, Perov, who has worked with Bill closely since 1979, directing the Bill Viola studio and managing, creatively guiding, and assisting with the production of all his videotapes and installations. Because of this collaboration, Anderson Ranch is awarding both Bill and Kira this award jointly. Their friend and former Anderson Ranch resident, Viola, who is here tonight, recalls being with Bill and Kira when they toured Anderson Ranch during their first visit to participate in the featured artist lecture series. Parash told me a story about the group stopping into a painting studio where a class was underway. Several people expressed admiration for Bill's work in the field of video art. And then one student challenged the extent of Bill's reliance on technology. Calmly and with a smile on his face, Bill reminded everyone that the paintbrush was the state-of-the-art technology of its time. In that brief exchange, Bill deftly established common ground with the artists studying and working at the ranch. The meaning of the work is the measure of its merit, he reminded them, not the technology we use to create it. The award we are presenting to my dear friends Bill Viola and Kira Perov honors internationally recognized artists who have created innovations in art education and whose careers have set an example and a direction for other artists. While Bill is not an educator in the classic sense, those who work with him come away with the experience learning and growing as individual artists. An example that illustrates Bill's powerful effect on other artists is the development of a video game called The Night Journey, a collaboration with the University of Southern California School of Cinematic Arts that Bill and Parash actually demonstrated on Bill's first visit to Anderson Ranch 3 years ago. Parash and Tracy Fullerton, who is also here tonight, who headed this USC team on the project, she reports that Bill rarely gave direction in a literal sense. Rather than saying, here's what I think you should do, he would guide others by sharing quotes from mystics and poets and juxtapose it with images from his work. He wants them to find their own way, their own inspiration. Bill Viola, they say, is both an artist and a philosopher. This style of working with an artistic framework while being open to and even encouraging the unexpected twists and turns is what makes Bill Viola such a powerful teacher and role model for other artists. For their artistic accomplishment and generosity of spirit that inspires all who have the pleasure of their company, I'm delighted to present the 2013 National Artist Award to Bill Viola and Kira Perov.
She said with the award.
Okay. I'm just so honored to be here. And I can say the same to Kira. And she's going to say a few things in a little while as well. So, thank you. Thank you, Anderson Ranch. And thank you for Ann and Rob, who met us at the airport. And they did that last time, too. And we feel right at home here. And I think we will always feel at home here. Because this is such a very, very special place. And it's been wonderful to stay in your house, you guys, and really, really accept your generous gifts in the form of beautiful, beautiful meals and walks and things like that. It's been just a delight. And I have to say, for Kira, she'll be speaking, as I said, in a moment. But we are enormously grateful to receive this award, and we thank you here tonight for your generous support. The Anderson Ranch is a very special place. In fact, it's an extraordinary place. A true artist retreat in an unbelievably awe-inspiring environment that can be appreciated throughout the 4 seasons with highly talented teachers and mentors at the top of their field. Artists arrive and immediately see the potential for experimentation, collaboration, and an extremely non-judgmental, nurturing environment open to all participants and ages from beginners to professionals. As for my path in the arts, I have been an artist my entire life. On the first day of kindergarten in Flushing, Queens, New York, my teacher, Mrs. Fell, held up my finger painting in front of the class of a tornado, and she showed it to everybody. I hid under the table. But from that moment, and this is a true story, I was always the class artist wherever I went. I grew up at the same time as television. In the 6th grade, I became the captain of the TV squad. And I don't know if you know what that is, because very few people do. That was when you had to wheel these large, huge televisions down the corridors to show them things about science and technology and various things that they were doing. Literally, we had 5 of us, and we just had a ball. So it was really fantastic. And of course, for me, the thing that really captivated me was the first time I saw that blue glow on the monitor screen. You know, that blue glow. We had black and white television for a long time. I'm sure people in this room remember it well. And it has this very special texture to it. It's real magical. And it fascinated me. But I had no idea that I would be focused on that glow and the medium of video for the rest of my life. With this extraordinary group of people assembled here, I want to talk about creativity. All of us in this room are creative in one way or another. But before creativity can manifest itself, there must be an inspiration. Inspiration starts as a tiny spark in the human heart. A recognition of something that touches us or catches us off guard. And then there is mystery, the most important of all. Mystery is the place above, beyond, beneath, below, through, and always just out of reach. It is all of our goals and destinies. But in today's media world, we live in a world that was created from reflections and mirrors. And of course, you all know that the mirror only reflects what it is shown. To learn something new, one must break the mirror to discover what is beyond it. I have begun to think of the art world that we're celebrating tonight as part of a much larger whole. I have begun to think of it as a kind of ecosystem. We are gathered here to celebrate art and artists and all the people we know and encounter in the world of art. From the solitary creator in his or her room giving birth to a new creation, to the rarefied heights of our great museums and with their distinguished directors, collectors, gallerists, curators, performers, technicians, organizers, designers, installers, architects, transporters, restorers, cleaners, floor polishers, and the FedEx guy. This is the Matrix. This is our world. And this is our future, for better or for worse. And the most important thing about our world is that nobody has all the answers. It is the forward momentum that keeps us alive and curious and filled with wonder. The unfolding of consciousness, the revelation of beauty, present even after death, the moment of awe, the space without words, the emptiness that builds mountains, the joy of loving, the sorrow of loss, and the gift of leaving something behind for the next traveler. I would like to finish with two quotes that have guided me over the years. The first one comes from Bob Dylan, who said, "Anything worth thinking about is worth singing about." The second quote comes from Carl Jung, from his Red Book. And he said, near the end of his life, "The life that I could still live, I should live. And the thoughts that I could still think, I should think." Thank you.
Speech, and this wasn't planned. This is going to be quite impromptu. To collaborate with anybody is very difficult. To collaborate with an artist is almost impossible. So we had to find our way. When I first came to New York to be with Bill, after we met in Australia, I was a photographer. I started photography, and I kind of used that as a medium to kind of try and get inside the work as well. At first, basically, I helped organize where we were going, how we were going to do something, and all of the details, financial details. But at first, Bill never shared with me actually what we were going to do. So I was left in the dark a lot, and I was left carrying a lot of equipment a lot. I would be recording sound, I'd be recording the video, Bill would be doing camera, and I would be taking photographs as well. And sometimes I would actually be in the pieces at the same time. But gradually that kind of moved towards a much greater role for me. Bill started to trust what I would do, and then many years later when we started working with teams and crews, that was a critical time of collaboration with a lot of people. And Bill was able to relax about that. Many artists tend to want to work solo by themselves, in their own spaces, in their own thoughts, and create their projects by themselves. And that's completely a wonderful way of working, and I would be wonderful if I could work that way too. But Bill started to realize that he needed help from many people, not just myself, and started to learn how to direct actors. In 1992 was the first time we worked with a DP, a director of photography, because we didn't know how to work a 35mm camera that could shoot 300 frames a second. So that was a collaboration. It was important to be able to communicate the essence of what we were doing to other people who didn't really know, who worked in Hollywood, for example, didn't understand what art was, had worked on commercials or the movies or whatever it was, or in the theatre. So it still happens that we work with people who really don't know what we're doing, but we always get the best kind of performance out of them because we allow them to own the work themselves. They own their own performance. So we've learned, both of us have learned a lot about collaboration over the many years, and it's a privilege to be able to work on these works that are so amazing. Thank you very much for the award. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Anne and Perov.